You ever look in the mirror and think to yourself, I'm doing everything right, so why do I feel like this? That question hits me hard because I've watched the people that I love break down, and none of them were living recklessly. My dad had 6 stents. My grandfather passed away from heart disease, and even more recently, I have a cousin who's under 30 years old who's had open heart surgery, and these weren't lazy people. They were doing what we all do. They work, they take care of their family, and they try to stay healthy. But for them, that just wasn't enough. And that's when I realized it's not just about how we look. It's not just about fitness. It's about how we recover, how we heal, how we adapt. Even those questions in the early stages when you're looking in the mirror and asking yourself that, that's kind of what led me to this journey on understanding epigenetics, which is how we live, our environment, what we put into our body, how we manage our stress, how we move, how those things can flip our genes on and off like a light switch. That's where today's guest comes in. Stephen Paul Smith. He didn't just create a workout, he created a movement around recovery before recovery was even really popular. And he started with nearly 400 tanning salons spread across the US. Then he lost it all. And in that scenario, a lot of people, they would have just tapped out. But for Stephen, well, he took a little trip to Jamaica, had a rum in his hand, and between the ideas that he had spawned from his experience in fitness and his exercise with hot yoga, he came up with the idea of HOTWORX. And if you think HOTWORX is just a exercise room that's hot, I'll tell you right now, you're way off. It's designed to penetrate muscle tissue, stimulate nitric oxide, reduce inflammation, and drop pulse wave velocity. Basically, it peels off a decade of vascular aging in under an hour. Plenty of research to show this. Today, it's not a trend. It's a global franchise of over 800 locations. And for Stephen, he's just getting started. This conversation, really, it's not about building a business. It's about building something that helps people before they break. Let's get into it. All right, Stephen, thanks for joining me today, man. This kind of hits home, like your brand hits home for me. And I think for a lot of people, they may not actually know a whole lot about infrared when they hear the word HOTWORX. Even for me, there's so many brands out there in the fitness space, and a lot of them are, fly by night. They're there and then they're not there. You experienced a little bit of this with Planet Beach. Not because of anything that you did, but because of the tax implications that the government had imposed on tanning salons. But, even that kind of got a bad rap. Tanning got a bad rap at one point. And then I looked at HOTWORX, and as I dug into your brand and your vision, a lot of it hit home. And the reason why it hit home is because of the value that I think a lot of people aren't aware of on the recovery side, on how infrared saunas actually get to the molecular level, they get to the cellular level and help your body repair. And because my father has had 6 stents, my cousin not long ago, 30 years old, had open heart surgery. My grandfather passed away of cardiovascular disease. And all of these things are, I think, based more on epigenetics, the lifestyle factors, the thing that, you can turn certain genes on and off. And what you're doing with your infrared saunas, those things are happening. And you've got a background in fitness. I mean, you're an all-American bodybuilder. You played, arena football. You have a history of opening tanning salons, and you've opened HOTWORX. But what was it that kind of got you into this space? I mean, you've done a lot, and I look at myself and I feel like I've done a lot, but you've far exceeded anything that I've done on the business side. And I think for a lot of other entrepreneurs and business owners who've opened multiple brands, what drove you down this path of opening a HOTWORX? What was the concept behind it?
If I go all the way back to the origin of what triggered what became HOTWORX, it was really being in that dilemma of being in the tanning industry, of having Planet Beach, and really struggling with, we got crushed with the 2008 financial crisis. Mm-hmm. 2 years later, we got crushed again with the nationwide tanning excise tax of 10% on all tanning in the country. Okay. That came about tacked on to Obamacare.
And you guys at that point, at your peak, you guys were close to 400.
Yeah, I think at the very peak, it was 387.
Okay.
That number ring. I think that was where we were. And that would have been '07. And then you could start to see cracks in the armor, and the metrics that you used to rely on started not to work as well anymore. And then, when you had that financial crisis, all of the funding dried up, especially for tanning salons, right? Now, a lot of industries, like I watched my friend Chuck Runyon just keep on piling on the Anytime Fitnesses throughout that time, right? Which made me long to be back in the fitness industry, right? So I think that had something to do with it, watching the success of Anytime Fitness and, struggling with an industry that really got crushed during that time. And then, of course, in 2010, they came in with that excise tax, and it was sort of like the nail in the coffin at the time. Really, really a blow to the industry. Shortly thereafter, you had like 80% of the tanning salons evaporated in the country. And then that whole industry had to fight its way back. But in response to that situation, we had to pivot. We had to find ways to, add services to, keep our brand relevant. And one of those ideas was what eventually became the HOTWORX sauna, right?
Can I pause for a second? Because this is something I noticed, and I don't know if it's things innate in athletes or high performers, but a lot of people in that kind of pressure situation would crumble. I mean, you had a big brand. You had a lot of people relying on you. You had a lot of franchisees that were looking to you for answers, and you're moving pieces and trying to solve problems and come up with, another way to provide a solution, right, to them to keep their business or keep their doors open and give them another utility so they can go, hey, customers, we have this too. And to me, that speaks volumes, right, on how somebody's going to handle something, handle a situation and come out of it and rise, which you've done. How do you handle those situations? Because I think a lot of people it's a lot to process. It's a lot of information to go, oh, shit. I mean, a lot of people can just give up, like throw the towel in and say, I'm done.
Yeah. That's a great question. And I got an answer for you, at least what worked for us. You have to invent your way out of a situation like that. Obviously, you can't continue to do the same thing.
Right.
You do that, you're just going to die a slow or maybe even a rapid death with that brand. So, but it takes, failing your way through, you might not hit the nail on the head with every idea you try to implement or every pivot that you make. But you keep on trucking, if you never give up, then eventually you will find that idea. You'll come across that solution that that you will, and I will almost say you will know that that's the one when it comes to you. That's the way it was, when the idea for the sauna, and designing a sauna for people to do yoga in.
Were you in Jamaica? I read somewhere you were in Jamaica when this kind of hit you.
I was in Jamaica. Had a rum drink in my hand. So did my
it's usually the best.
Yeah. He's an exercise physiologist as well, and he ex-bodybuilder like me. He and I were having a discussion about working out while we were drinking that rum in Jamaica.
Sometimes you got to unwind a little bit to let things flow a little bit in the brain.
Right. You do. And I was telling Jerome, so man, I've been doing Bikram yoga. It's just 90-minute grueling yoga routine. Same
stinky and sweaty in that room. Man.
Yeah, man. You got 30 people in there. The mat is awful. You pay $5 to rent a towel that looks like it's from Motel 6.
Yeah.
Hurts the knees and all that stuff. But I was doing it. I did it my first time in Miami. It was very humbling dare I say, humiliating experience for a fitness guy.
Yeah, for a big guy like you, man.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I came out of that. I lasted like 20 minutes in that first yoga class, Bikram, and determined to at least get decent at it. I think I did get decent at it. It took a little while. But all the while doing that, I came back to New Orleans. I started doing the Bikram here downtown New Orleans at a place. And I started thinking about things that I felt could be done better for this modality, right? And so there was that. And I was talking to Jerome about that in Jamaica. And I also was mentioning, I'll do the yoga, I'll go to Planet Beach. We had these small little infrared saunas that we had started putting into Planet Beach, right? Coming up with new things, new services, anything to kind of, evolve away from just being indoor tanning.
What year was this, by the way?
This was this moment in Jamaica was August of 2014.
Everyone knows when the light bulb goes off, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. There are two keys to it, I would have to say, in inventing your way out. There's the light bulb moment. Well, the light bulb moment was when I told Jerome that I was doing Bikram and then going to these small little infrared saunas at Planet Beach for recovery. And he said, dude, they should do yoga in a sauna. And when he said that, that was the proverbial light bulb.
Yeah.
On that bright sunny day on a cliff in the Grill, Jamaica, at this place called the Caves. Never forget that moment. I've been back there. We go back every 3 years now.
That's
and
good.
We'll stand at the same spot, take a photo.
Yeah.
Me and Jerome.
And grab a rum drink too.
And we do that too. Maybe a red stripe. And I told Jerome after he said that, I said, you know what? I'm going to go back to New Orleans and design a sauna for that purpose. And that's what I did. And then came up with these dimensions after a lot of thought, after stepping out and deciding I wanted it for 3 people. Cause as a trainer, and I felt that in small group training, 3 people is the perfect number for clients. Right. So sauna for 3 people. And, went and then interviewed manufacturers and found a manufacturer that could work with us, and they had engineers that could help us bring this thing to the market. And we did. It took about 10 months to get it to market.
Wow.
We got a prototype, came off the ship in New York City at a franchise trade show, the IFE in New York at the Javits Center. And that was like May of 2015. And we put the thing together. It worked. And the workouts that we had for it, and the whole experience was, you know what? I think we have something here. Yeah.
Did you do this? Because I've done trade shows before. And
oh yeah, I've done them. Yeah. So
sometimes, you're waiting for the truck to come in, or you're waiting, for the delivery to come in, and you're on a time crunch and you're racing around to get these things set up. So when you say that the ship was coming in, like, did you guys have some time, or was it like the ship come in and like you're racing this thing to the show?
And we had it delivered to the Javits Center, and we unboxed it, and we figured I remember it took a while to figure out how to get it together, and we got it together, and it turned it on and it worked, so that was a milestone right there. But, and now in the beginning, we called this thing the Hot Box Detox, which was cute, but, and coming from the tanning salon, the automated spa that we evolved to world.
Yeah.
Well, that seemed like the name it should be. We didn't know in the beginning that we were going to create a fitness concept based around this thing. It was going to be a machine that we sold to fitness centers, that we installed in Planet Beach locations, get rid of a tanning bed, put in a Hot Box Detox. We did that, and it was, you could definitely see the life coming back into the organization because of that innovation.
In Planet Beach?
Yes. And then in the summer of 2016, though, I made the decision that, okay, we got to retire the name Hot Box Detox. That is not going to be the future of this machine. So let's go back to the drawing board marketing wise. We came up with HOTWORX, And then we came up with a great logo. And once we changed the name from Hot Box Detox to HOTWORX, I was like, man, and that was like in August or in July, August that we did that of 2016. I was like, I have to turn this into a fitness franchise somehow, some way. Because one thing, yes, that the sauna works very well for workouts, but the name, man, everything's in a name. And HOTWORX is a great name.
Yeah, it flows.
So
Hot Box Detox is a little bit of a mouthful. I don't know if that would have been a franchise.
And it really didn't reflect the true, benefit of that invention.
Yeah.
Because it's not just detox.
Yeah.
It's training. It's everything fitness. It's, all the benefits that you get from isometrics and from HIIT training. So it had to be changed. And so we changed it to HOTWORX. And then
I got another question for you. Cause every bodybuilder that I know has spent time in a sauna, like standard sauna. Cause that's usually what most gyms back in the day, that's all they carried. And they would spend time in the sauna and they would prep in there, right? They would sweat it out. They'd get ready for their show. Someone would work out in there. So do you think part of this was like, did you ever work out in saunas prepping for a show?
I think I did stretching. You're making me reflect back and thinking about those times I spent in the saunas where you throw the water on the rocks.
Yeah.
And just heats up the air. I think I did stretching in there.
Yeah. It just makes you pass out is all it does.
Right. And you have to have it at 180 degrees.
Yeah.
So you can't really work out at 180 degrees. It's just
it's too much.
Not comfortable. But at 125 degrees with infrared, where you get the absorption of the radiation into your skin up to 1.5 inches. And you don't have to rely on heating up the room and the air around you, to get the benefit, because it absorbs into your skin. Then it makes it much more conducive to doing workouts in a sauna, which is why the sauna had to be infrared as well. It couldn't be a conventional sauna like that.
So was that like, do you think there was like something subconscious in you that kind of brought you back to those days, and you're like, hey, workouts in the sauna, like stretching in the sauna, yoga in the sauna, that type of stuff?
I think possibly. And yeah, just like every other bodybuilder and, athlete out there, spend a lot of time in saunas for recovery and, to relax your muscles from the workout. But the cool thing now with HOTWORX is you can get both. You might as well get the sauna and the workout at the same time instead of, spending an hour in the gym and then spending 30 minutes in the sauna, when you could spend 30 minutes doing hot yoga at HOTWORX, or you could spend 15 minutes doing hot cycle, indoor cycling with HIIT training. And, get so much. That's why our motto is more workout, less time. Our mission is to generate more profits for our franchisees through the bliss of our customer base. But the way we get there is to provide more workout in a smaller amount of time for our customers.
So there's something that I thought was interesting. Like you switched from Planet Beach, or you kind of, did you have franchisees from Planet Beach come over to HOTWORX?
Yep.
Because your numbers are staggering, the number of HOTWORX locations that you open. I mean, that's like top 1% of franchisors are able to see that kind of growth in number of units. So was that due to primarily a lot of Planet Beach locations were already up and running? You gave them a solution and said, hey, you can do this now.
We had a bit of that, but it was not the catalyst to our growth.
Okay.
At all. And we still have, one of our top HOTWORX franchisees was also and still is a top performer from Planet Beach, but she is now about to convert her location, Planet Beach, in Texas. I won't say the city name. I don't know how she wants to announce it to her customers, but from the Planet Beach that she's had for 20 years now, converting it over to HOTWORX.
Oh, wow.
We encourage that. We encourage that. So that is a part of the success of the brand of Planet Beach. I mean, of HOTWORX. And we have done that numerous times, and it's worked out well every time. But, I'll tell you how our growth has worked. And I've been in franchising a long time, and until HOTWORX, I never saw organic growth like this, because 90% of our new franchisees, it's the same story. I hear it every week in orientation day. We have an orientation at least once a week, usually on Friday. Sometimes we add a Wednesday, depending on how many new franchisees sign up. But 90% of the stories in orientation day go like this. Yeah, my friend so-and-so convinced me to go do a workout with her at HOTWORX. I went, and one time I became obsessed. And then I figured out that you guys are a franchise and decided, hey, we need one over here. And that's why I'm here today. That's the story over and over again. So, and that's
awesome.
That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
You want customers that, achieve what they're looking for. And then they realize it's a business opportunity that they can then go open in their hometown or buy their house or wherever and provide the service that helps customers in that neighborhood get what they're looking for as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to get into some of this kind of disease prevention, because I was doing some research on this and how your setup really helps with this. And yeah, I really think that you guys are onto something, because you look at the evidence. I mean, there's plenty of studies out there that show this. And what really has been shown is how all of this stuff comes together. I'll just give you a couple here. So one of them is the measurement of pulse waves. By doing the exercises in a HOTWORX environment, right, in your guys' facility, there's studies that show that there's arterial aging that is reversed. And typically what you'll see is like a 1 meter per second shift, like reduction. And when you look at this, a 1 meter per second reduction in aortic pulse wavelength, it reduces cardiovascular events by 14%. In order to get that 1 meter per second reduction, you could go into your guys's studio, exercise there, and they're showing this over the course of like a 3-week time span. So it has better benefit than a physician giving medication to a person who's having cardiovascular problems. So it just makes the valves a lot more pliable, and you'll notice that a lot of people have reduced hypertension. And if you look at the Finnish population, most of the research is coming out of there from all of these different types of saunas that they're using. But I think it's really interesting how what you're doing has a positive side effect that I think a lot of people aren't even aware of, right? They go in for some yoga. You can do some recovery in there. You can do, to your point, instead of spending an hour at the gym and then 30 minutes in the sauna, you can get everything done in 30 minutes. But there's also that benefit, that long-term effect. VO2 max increases, nitric oxide increases, arterial plasticity increases. So all of these things are improvements. And I don't know if that's known well enough to like the consumers when they think about HOTWORX brand. So is there anything that you guys are doing to kind of like promote that information?
Well, Michael, yes, maybe not as much, but you just inspired me for my weekly blog. So thank you for that. And I also love the name of your podcast. I think it's a great name.
Thanks.
Using the infrared sauna, and especially with exercise, you're dilating your blood vessels. You're greatly improving the circulation of the blood flow. And yes, it is a great benefit to your cardiovascular system. I used to hate cardio, right? Not too many people I know was, I love cardio. And
it depends on who you are, right? If you're somebody who's going to go to the gym, I'm just
fanatics out there that you'll see them, but most.
I'm with you. I can't stand cardio.
Well, I learned to love it through HOTWORX, because when you go in, and whether you're doing the HIIT or I think I especially like it more when I'm doing isometrics. Any one of the isometrics that we do for 30 minutes, you burn twice as many calories as you do in a traditional, let's say, yoga class in 30 minutes. And you get this great cardio workout, but you don't even realize you're doing cardio. Mm-hmm. You're focused on the postures and getting the plank perfect and all these things. And next thing you know, you look down, I burned 400 calories in 20 minutes. And my heart rate is staying right around 145. So I'm good. I'm getting a great cardio workout. And then you can walk in, and I work out at other gyms. I still am a Gold's Gym fanatic, because I'm still that muscle head that I've always been.
It doesn't go away, man.
No. So I tell people, I go out to Gold's Gym in Venice sometimes and train there, and tell people, if you can't get motivated in that place, you just can't get motivated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but you'll go in there in a place like that, and you just see people like this on a treadmill. It looks like they hate it. And, but then you go and look into HOTWORX, and people are just all into it. They're focused, man. They're having a good time. They're doing yoga, and it's like the greatest cardio workout that you never knew you're getting.
Yeah. I think what you have is, I mean, it really is it's a solution for a lot of people, and they don't realize that is the solution. Because recovery is a big space right now. And, you look at Covery, I think, the name of them is Covery. They're a recovery center, and there's a couple other big brands that have blown up that do a lot of the recovery stuff, as well as, they might do some, do testosterone therapy or HRT. And you look at those businesses, and they're there to try and increase longevity, right? Increase the life of how you live. And I look at HOTWORX, and I'm going, there's a lot here. There's the recovery and the fitness side, that you can benefit from both aspects of it. But how, if you're someone coming into this, and you're trying to decide between the franchise types that are out there, you want to get involved. I mean, for you, most of them are customers who've had an experience, and they're going, I want to do this thing. What is it that they can expect from a cost up front to get involved in one? And then what is it that they can expect from the perspective of how much they really got to put time and energy into it? Because I think the model's pretty lean from my understanding of it. And what kind of return on investment should they kind of expect out of it?
Yeah. Well, I can't.
You can't give details. I know that.
Details, because of franchising laws of disclosure, but we're happy to disclose all of that information, and it's in our franchise disclosure document, because we do make the earnings claims based on the actual performance of all the locations that we have. Every year we do that. I can tell you it's very good. Some people will say it's the envy of the boutique fitness business. So, but we're happy to send out that document with all of that information to any prospective franchisee that wants to go on our website and click on where they need to get the franchise information.
Yeah. And I'll put that in the show notes too. So you guys just can, those listening, you can just click on it, whether it's you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or
they can click and it'll go to a landing page and they'll fill out a few, but just not a whole lot of information. And then very shortly, hopefully immediately, they'll be contacted by a recruiter.
Okay. And what's the next steps for you guys? I mean, where are you guys headed with HOTWORX?
So, we have a lot of white space left to develop in this country. In the beginning, I made the statement that I believed that this brand was a 1 unit for every 100,000 people in the population. And as we began to develop, Memphis was like the first big city that we fully developed. And then New Orleans and then DFW. And that ratio is spot on. Now, that said, there's a lot of small towns too of like 10, 20, 30,000 people that have enough population in their county that's white space for us too. So in all, to answer your question, we're almost at 800. We'll be at 800 in August, maybe first week of September. We should cross that mark. Units open. We have determined that we can have 3,000 plus by the time we're fully developed, and sticking true to that ratio that we believed in the beginning that it has held true. Now, that said, the only way we can get there is through ascending profitability, average ascending profitability of our franchisees. And the only way that can happen is if we keep our customer base in a state of fitness bliss, meaning they're getting a little more than they bargained for all the time. So that's what we focus on more than anything. I would say that we obsess over those two things, franchisee profits and customer experience, right? And then working together as a team with the franchisor. I like to say the franchisor is the coaching staff and the franchisees are the players. And we have to work together so that the players can execute the franchise system on the playing field of operations that we call the studio, right? I love the football metaphor. I mean, I grew up in football.
Yeah, I use the same metaphor.
I'm a competitive dude, and football to me has always been the best way to describe business and how to operate a business.
Well, I think there's so much parallel, really, in any sport with business. I think in business, you're playing a sport.
Absolutely.
And you just got team members, that are your players, and you're working with them all. And you just got to make sure you got the right coach and you got the right people in the right position. Otherwise, you're never winning any games.
That's the key right there.
Yeah.
As you know.
So, I had one other question for you. And, I look at these fitness businesses. Attrition is typically right around 36%, for, standard gyms. So what does it look like in HOTWORX? Because you're always trying to like fill that gap. Like somebody leaves, you got to get somebody else in. And that's always kind of like that process that's always a struggle, right? People have those holes in their pockets and they're trying to fill them back up.
Yep.
What's it look like for HOTWORX? Well,
I mean, we're in a lead generation business, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to have a solid product to begin with. And you have to keep things innovative, and you have to have great marketing, right? And then you have to have a system whereby you can get the highest closing percentage that you can get. But then you got to keep the folks happy. I talked about the bliss of the customer base. Mm-hmm. I think we do a pretty good job. The way we measure it, our attrition rate is around 5%, and we do that on a monthly basis. Industry is about 8%. What that means is if you have 1,000 members, you're going to lose 50 of them in a month. Mm-hmm. That means if you want to keep your membership base, you better sell more than 50 memberships every, right? But because I don't care how good your product is, you can have the best gym in the world, you're still going to have attrition, right? And the key is to have less than what the average is in the industry, which we really strive hard to do. So that's how we measure it. And the way that we retain is to just focus like crazy on our customer base and try our best to keep them happy and keep them getting results.
Good. Well, Steve, man, I got to tell you, this is a good conversation all the way from, you having a drink in Jamaica, enjoying some rum, to, working out and understanding how you grew your business. Cause I think a lot of people just don't understand the backstory behind what you've done. And, a lot of commendations your way. I mean, you know what you've done. So I don't think you need to be pat on the back any, because you know what you've accomplished. So I think what I'd like to do is try and have you on the show again, because I want to see where things have gone, in the next year or two, and just follow that journey, the things that you keep growing. But where can people contact you? You got a website? I know you do, but we're going to put it in the show notes anyway.
Yeah, website is hotworx.net. And there's tons of information there. Also, we'll plug the book that I wrote. It's called Hot Exercise.
Oh, yeah.
That's a place where you can get a link to Amazon to buy a copy of that.
We'll put that in the show.
I bring it up because, of course, shamelessly promote the book, but I bring it up because there's tons of scientific information about a lot of the questions that you've asked today, and goes into really great detail about it.
I wish I would have known that you had written that book earlier on before the show, because I would have gotten it and read it. Because a lot of times the guests that I have on, they'll, if they have a book, what I'll do is I'll read the book before they come on, because I have questions from the book. But I'll definitely have to get it, and that'll be for the next segment when we do that.
Fantastic. Send me your email. I'll send you a copy.
Yeah. Awesome. I appreciate it, Steve. Everyone else, thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. All the information is going to be in the show notes. And once again, I'll see you guys on the flip side.